All right, hello everyone. Welcome to our Elevate Masterclass 3. We're going to be diving a little deeper into the steps 3 and 4, identify and reframe. I first want to just tune in and check in with those who are on the call here. If there's anyone who has any shares or comments or questions to this point that they would like to ask or bring up at this time. Anyone got anything?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good.
So, I mean, I've been watching my language for quite a long time, but this is really highlighting it.
Yeah.
Funny thing, funny thing is, I have my usual people that I walk with, and I'm picking up on their language left, right, and center, and I'm like, oh my god, their stories are just repeating, and I am trying to ask them if it's okay if I provide you with another way of looking at things, and they're actually pretty open. So that's awesome. And I was just on the phone with my longtime friend who is so curious about what we're learning here.
I love it.
So yeah, I know I find myself using this language with her.
I know, I love it. And they're receptive. And so what are you also, they're receptive, which is amazing. We always love that when people are receptive to our, don't we love it when we get to share and it's
Yeah,
deep.
exactly.
How is that helping you? So I always like to look at it because there's always something there for you too. So how is that helping you?
To it makes me draw on what you're teaching. So I know as a teacher that kids learn by doing, they learn by teaching. I know I learn by doing and I learn by teaching. So I just practice it. So I just share with them. And it's actually quite freeing for them when
Yes.
they realize that they can let go of other people's stuff and control their perceptions and this whole conversation about, because I have one friend, well, a couple friends in particular, two, who are frequently being mirrored back how they perceive the world. So their things are thrown in their face. Same kinds of things are constantly being presented to them.
Yeah.
And so we get to have they're open to the conversations anyway, and they ask questions. So,
Oh,
and
good.
they say, oh, I should have done your sister's course. Oh, I should have done your sister's course.
I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
I just want to, which was always fun for me with all of you, and the beauty of working with people over time is just it's always fun for me to. I remember little conversations I had, back with all of you, kind of like, oh yeah, I remember when, you were in that position, or so it's always fun to just see the progress. But then I remember one of the things you said to me at the very beginning when we first started talking like this, you were like, my naturopath talks like you. You're kind of like that language you use, the way
Yeah.
you talk, like she talks like you, and you were recognizing that there was a difference. And so I just want to kind of acknowledge right now that here you are, really not that much long later, kind of going, oh, like hearing it, seeing it, and shifting it. And like, you're using the language, and then as you use it, you're inspiring other people to use it. So it's a pretty cool ripple that can happen. And again, we start to notice when people use different language, don't we?
Yeah.
We start to notice when we're having a conversation with someone and all of a sudden they're not talking like we are, like it's like, okay, they're saying, and that's what so that's a lot of the people that I follow and are mentors. I was like, ooh, their language is different. The way they say things, the way they see things is different. And that draws attention, right? It draws attention, right? So it's kind of a neat way for us to sort of see how powerful our language can be.
Quite, it jumps out. It's
Yeah,
literally just boom in my face. I'm like, oh, how do I deal with that? Calm, figure it out.
yeah.
And my husband.
Yeah, I know. So once you become aware, It's like there's the beauty and the curse of it as well, right? Both
It's a
for
good way of putting
ourselves.
that.
Yeah, there's both for ourselves, or when you're like listening to people, all of a sudden you really, really, really hear it. You're like, oh, I can understand. I now know why they're sort of stuck in that position. So it's kind of cool. I also always like to look at when I'm listening to people. I always like to ask the question. Yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it, or once you hear it, you can't. Yeah, it's so true. And I always like to ask that question too, is what are they mirroring back to me about me? So what is their story, or is there anything here for me, as in like, do I have the same story? Or again, I might not have this story in this area of my life, but does that story resonate on some way over here maybe? So I always like to invite in that as well. Right. Cool. Fun. Anyone else want to have anything to share or add or ask? Yes, Stella.
I think it's one of those, I'll get it on the bus on the way home, because I can understand, comprehend, what the language is that's changing. I can hear it in other people, but I haven't moved to the like, for them, but also I kind of catch mine at times. And so then I think it's kind of where my challenge is going to be, is really using it, shifting it without having to think so hard about how you're saying it. And I do agree. I've been that person who, if I've had something to learn, teaching it to other people is just reaffirms your learning for sure. And I get that's probably where I am, but there is that one little piece in it. And of course, one of the first things on the little tutorials this week was whatever won't was on there. And the only thing that came to me was, won't you be my neighbor? And so it was.
We never wanted any of us to be our neighbors.
Well, right. And I'm going like, that puts a whole new twist on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Like, and coming from that generation, I guess. But yeah, it was sort of, for me, I think, like I can sit all the way through and keep up, but then there's that piece where you're gonna put it in context with a belief, which is probably going to take me 5 more years to get that, or it's going to take just the whole using of it, and I want to use it fluently and naturally without stumbling over my words. So
everyone's
it's going to be a slow bus ride home.
Okay, so first of all, I'm hearing that you have a perception about how long it's going to take and the problem within the challenge with it. So just be curious about that.
No perception, truth. That's my learning style.
Okay. So, well, it could happen with these, and also we haven't done the next steps yet. Really, I glanced over them, but this is today. Today is about really how do we dive in a bit deeper to identify, and then what do we do with it once we identify it. So we haven't dove in there. And you're right, it does take some practice doing it. It is like, and we're talking all about this today, is how do we then turn it into something that I can actually do something out while still sounding articulate or not sounding like I am slow talking. But just be curious. I just want to invite curiosity, Adela, around the rules around how you have to learn something, how fast you have to learn something, and that it could be faster than 5 years. Just saying. I'm here for you no matter what. However, I just invite that sometimes we have rules. So we have sort of a perception of, oh, this is the way it has to be for me, or this is the way it's going to be for me. And for all of us, I always just like to invite in, I wonder if it's possible that it could be different. Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
It's funny, actually, like I can totally relate to what Della's saying, because certain phrases, like canceled out phrases, like especially like I'm reading the different sort of categories of phrases and words. Like canceled out throws me, like especially the one where the one that says, "Isn't it beautiful?" Because like when I look at that sentence, I see the word beautiful, and to me that's a very positive word. It is a very positive word. So it's almost like I don't notice the isn't. So it's like, yeah, like that totally throws you, because like you just see this really beautiful word and you don't see, I don't know,
the energy behind it.
Yeah.
There really isn't it beautiful? Mm-hmm. Really, like it's kind of like a question. And is it not? There's a question, or there's a little bit of an uncertainty behind it. So I really invite you, whenever you're doing any of these, say them out loud. So go, isn't it beautiful? Isn't it beautiful versus it is beautiful. Like there's a definite distinction in energy, right? Versus, and so and again, it's not that it isn't beautiful is terrible and it's in complete limitation and lack, but there is an energy behind it. And compared to it's beautiful, there's less ownership of it. It's more in question. It's a little bit more uncertain too. So that's the whole idea behind this, is really pay attention to the energy behind it as well. Right? Yeah, I love it. So much awareness. Anyone else have anything to add? Oh, all right. Oh yes, Yelena. Yeah.
I just don't want to repeat whatever Jen was saying or Adela, but I just wanted to share a quick little fun thing. I found a mug at Winners. I don't know if you guys can read it.
I love it.
Be the energy.
You want to attract.
Be the energy you want to attract.
I love it.
And I thought that was so cute because it called my name as I was at the checkout. So it's totally perfect for this course.
It is. It's all of next. That's like next week's motto in some ways. Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Next week, we'll be talking about. Oh, good. I love those little finds that remind us, right? Yeah, I love it. All right. So I want to make sure we give lots of time and space for, this is a big one. This topic is a big topic because I know that I'm hearing lots of you guys saying, okay, I can recognize it and I'm aware of it, but I don't know what to do with it. Or I can't do anything with it in the moment. And then we get a little bit disturbed by that. So I want to give you some tools today to help you move through it a little bit with greater ease and to actually kind of have a process in place, a step-by-step process. I know we like steps, right? To move through this or to create the shifts of your choosing. So our topic today is we're just diving deep into the identify and reframe, which are steps 3 and 4 of the Elevate process. And step 3 is the identify, which is what we have been doing, obviously, with all these little tutorials all along the way, right? So just broken up this section into something that we do obviously in smaller bits, so it's not so overwhelming. And this is all about identifying or revealing the language that is creating your current experience. So how do you reveal the language that is creating your current experience? So obviously you guys are hearing it, you're paying attention to it in your everyday talk, you're hearing other people talk. So all of that is exactly how you do this. It's just simply by tuning in and creating space to do it. And what we're really looking for is once you observe and listen to your story. So one of the things that I always want to make sure I clarify story. My husband, I always say, well, that's your story. He's like, what do you mean my story? And I was like, oh, okay. He was like, what do you mean by that anyways? Because that's my reality. It's not my story, that's my reality, right? And so this is where I kind of want to just really make a distinction, is that the what we're feeling and what's going on in our head and what we're telling ourselves about what we feel, it feels real. So it can feel like, well, this is my reality, this is the way things are, and I want to invite your perception shift, and that's the story you have. That's what you've come to believe, that's what you come to know. So when I'm referring to the story, I'm really talking about the chatter, the things, and the reasons why you feel what you feel. Does that make sense? So when I'm talking about story, I'm not talking about something you've made up, although it kind of is. It's based on your reality. It's based on what you come to experience, what you come to know, but ultimately it is a story and you can choose to change it. That's why I like using the word story. So once you've done steps 1 and steps 2, which is basically listening to it and reminding that you can listen to it by either documenting it or writing it down, or recording it, or having a conversation with someone. So those are the great ways to listen to it. And then you want to really pay attention to the key words. So you don't have to pay attention to everything, but you're just watching for the key words, right? I'm looking for the won'ts, the can'ts, the buts, the I need to's, like, you know, these sort of key words that all the tutorials are meant to reveal to you or to show you. And whenever you're hearing one of those, so whenever you hear the limiting language or those key words that we've highlighted in the tutorials, that is where a limiting belief sits. So whenever you hear it, there's a limit there. Okay, so that's what, and not to panic. You don't have to fix it right away, but that's just really, that's what you're paying attention to. And so when you want to use the language elevation chart, so if you want to create even a place for it, obviously you have a binder for this and having them as a reference can be great. And the idea here is just building awareness. Right? We got to become aware first, and we have to identify and notice. And of course, this is all just language. Limiting language just repels whatever it is that you're choosing. So whatever you kind of set your intention around, or whatever you're moving towards in your life, you know, that limiting language is kind of doing it. It's doing this to it. So as you choose and commit to being aware of your language, your awareness grows. And with growing awareness and your commitment, that allows you to choose again. So just recognize that this awareness, there's no magic process in this. There is this just being more and more aware. And you don't have to get it all at once. Okay, it's just the more you notice, the more aware you are. And you're just really using those keywords, paying attention to the keywords. And once you get the keywords, then we can do something about it. But we're just talking about step 3 here. So it's really just paying attention to the words. And what gets in the way of identifying the limiting language, which is highlighting a limiting belief, is sometimes being unintentional, you know, so not creating space to tune in and practice. This is a practice of ongoing self-awareness. This is something that I really like to, with everything I teach, this isn't something we just do for 1 week and we get it all and it's all fixed. Or we do it for 6 weeks and I've mastered it all and we're good to go. Okay, this is an awareness practice. And so anytime when I'm trying to build my awareness around something, so I'm in the process of learning, in the process of mastery, we've got to create space to tune in and become aware and to do the work or to practice it. Okay, so often what's happening is that we just don't. We're just kind of going through our days and we're not kind of setting time aside or kind of creating, even if it's 5 minutes, right, or 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be a big long amount of time, but usually we've got to be intentional about creating space to be aware and to do something with it. Okay, so usually the reason what's getting in the way is just we're not intentional about it. And the second thing is we get caught up in believing the story. This is what I see probably the biggest thing. And me too. So I get it caught up in believing the story your limiting beliefs are telling you. So this is probably one of the biggest obstacles, is that I get immersed in it and then I'm not realizing that I'm immersed in the story. And so therefore I don't have the awareness to sort of notice maybe what's going on or how I have the power to shift it. So this is really seeing your triggers and your obstacles, whatever, anything that causes you to feel low vibe, anything that causes a shift in your energy to feel not so hot. So that could look like overwhelm, anxiety, sadness, anger. Sometimes we think of a trigger as anger, but a trigger can be sadness. A trigger can be overwhelm, right? So, or an obstacle. So anything that's going to kind of flip you onto that right side of the chart, there's something there for you. Okay, and so what happens is we get flipped onto the other side of the chart and we think that what the story we're telling, right? We think that what's going on is real and true. Like, yeah, but this is actually happening. What's happening is a reflection of your belief system. And then what happens is we kind of believe that these things are in the way, and that I'm doing this thing called mastery, and I'm going to do this thing called language, and I'm going to like fix everything. And we think that these hurdles and these things that I'm feeling are in the way of me doing that. They are actually the beauty about the best thing about your low vibes, your low vibe experiences, is they are actually reflecting your limiting beliefs right back to you, so that you can become the master of yourself. Okay, so your triggers and your obstacles are golden opportunities. We just have to recognize them. But so when we're immersed in the story of them, we're in it, and we're not even realizing that there's something here for us. So we just got to start to become aware of, okay, ooh, how am I feeling right now? Ooh, I'm feeling this trigger. I'm feeling this low vibe. I'm feeling the energy of this thing. That is where you're like, ooh, there's something here for me. And that's when we want to go, okay, I got to go create space to go find out what it is. And then what we often do is, well, I don't know what it is. I don't know. So we got to create space to go find out. And then we create space, we're going to listen to the story and pay attention to the keywords. Okay. And the beauty is if we can record it or write it down, then you can really kind of see, gives you something to play with, or gives you something to really see. When we do it all in our head, when you don't say it out loud, often it just sort of stays in this kind of like cycle in the head. So that's what the value is when I do coaching sessions with someone. I don't really have anything. I'm winking at some of you on the call here today. I don't really have anything today. And I'm like, no, let's just start talking. and within like, usually in a few minutes, I can just start pulling. There's one, right? And so there's the value in saying it out loud. Okay, so that's why I'm saying get it out of you. And then once it's out of you, you can see the keywords, you can see where the limits are, you can see where the juiciness is, where you get to change your story. Right? So often we're caught up in believing the story and immersed in it rather than going, cool, I'm feeling crappy. And so I'm immersed in the story, and this is an opportunity for me to change it and choose a new story. Right? This is where all your power sits. So how do we overcome what gets in the way? This is be intentional. So so that is meaning creating time and space to tune in by making it a part of your daily connection practice, right? So if you're kind of like, I'm going to tune in and just notice some of the language. I'm going to hear the story I'm telling right now. Just start talking. Honestly, you can be like, there's nothing even wrong. I'm just going to sit with a bit and talk about my day. I'm going to talk about what's going on. And you can just check, where am I at? Just check my language. I do it all the time. I just sit over here, I face the wall over there, and I just sit down and I'm like, so what's going on? And I just start talking to myself, and I just see if there's anything there for me. I just see if there's anything that's wanting to come up, that's wanting to come through, and I'm going to check myself. Where am I at? Sometimes there's not much. Sometimes there's a boatload, but we got to create space to tune in. And then only you can make it a priority. Sometimes and I have done this so much in my life, was I'm mindful of like waiting for permission outside of me, or waiting for everything to fall into place so I actually have the time to do it, or like nobody can make you a priority. Nobody can make you do this. Nobody's going to give you the time to do this. So it really is about you choosing to give yourself the time and to recognize it as a priority. Because when I'm filled up, when I'm operating in my best, I'm a better service to those around me. So it really is about nothing, no one's going to give you this, right? So we got to give it to self. And often the level we prioritize our own self-care or our own time to create space or to connect or whatever, fill in the label of this or however you want, is often a reflection of how we value ourselves. And so being intentional about creating the time and space is often because our wounded inner child or our armored self is running the show. It's usually making the choices for you. So wounded, and so really, 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 and I am familiar with this position, which really, and I think it's easy as moms in particular too. Like it can feel like a really, maybe an easy place to sink into. And not always, but just that's like, from my experience. So just really pay attention to martyr energy or victim energy. And martyr energy is really like, well, I just, I have to give up my needs for everybody else, or I have to wait for something outside of me. Look, all these people are taking up my time and energy and I just can't. So just check with victim energy, and guaranteed there's a boatload there for you, right? So anytime you're feeling that kind of martyr victim energy, instead of like buying into it and believing it, because you're not, that's just the story of the wounded self, or just the wounded self. That's not even ego. That's going to be wounded self. And so don't buy it. Don't believe it. I shouldn't say don't. Choose to believe a new story, right? And so really we have to look at when we're feeling in that space is an opportunity. Oh, look at this. I often say that. I'm like, whoo, look at this. I had this one. I'm going to be super honest. This was just a few nights ago. And I felt it, and coming on, I watched myself slipped into martyr position, victim position. And I was like, whoo, there's a good one here. I literally turned my light on, like flashlight in my phone light on my thing in my bed. And I just started listening to her. Right. So I gave her a voice. So that was that exercise in Masterclass 2, where it was like giving the voice to this part of me. So we want to give the voice to this part of you, because that's where you're going to see all the limiting language, and that part of me is running the show in that scenario. So now I can do something with it. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, so really this comes back to, we want to see your obstacles, your hurdles, the triggers, the inner disturbances, whatever disturbs you is ripe with this stuff. Okay, and whenever you're feeling yourself in victim and martyr, that also means it's ripe as well. Yes, Jen.
Okay, so what you're saying is when you're feeling in one of these low vibe states, say out loud what you're feeling.
Yes.
And what you think is causing it. Just vent. And then pull out the language.
And then you're gonna, so that's why I like to write, record, or listen or talk out loud. You gotta say it out loud. And then, yes, and then you're gonna start paying attention to the language, the keyword.
Okay.
Okay, and that's where your stuff is sitting. Okay, and so for where you're at right now, that'll be, here we are. Here's your work right here.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Colleen, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I was just going to say the book that we're reading right now, Think Like a Monk, it talks about that actually it's okay. I talk to myself a lot. I actually say my name. Okay, Colleen, you need to get it together. This is what you're going to do next. Mostly because I think I'm an audible learner and my husband thinks I'm crazy. I said, can you believe it? This book says you should talk to yourself. And, and so it does help. It, you know, I don't always write things down in the moment, but I can always take the time to talk to myself.
Totally, and it depends. Like, so I am someone who can process by talking it out. So that's how I very much process. So I don't always have to write it down, but some of you may be writer downers. So write it down.
Writer downers.
Writer downers. I'm sure that's a thing. Very official. Yeah, so you writer downers.
Just teasing you.
Or I'm gonna, yeah, or if I record and then listen back, again, how do you learn? How do you tune in? So I just think whatever works for you, right? Whatever works for you, yes. But it has to get out of you. But the key is getting it out of you, because when you're in your head, you end up just sort of staying in the story. And that's why often people come in like, I don't really have anything, but when I start talking, it brings it out. And so it's the same when you're doing it for yourself. Okay, yes, Jen.
When you're recording yourself, do you just use like the record a video, or do you use an app?
I don't record myself because I'm just saying because I need to listen, but I would, if I were to do it, I would probably just use the recorder on my phone, like there's a voice memo thing on the phone, isn't there? Yeah. You could hop on, I shouldn't say, I've hopped on Zoom before.
I was going to say, Jan, one of the things that I do when I'm practicing something or working through something is turn on Zoom and hit record.
I do that actually.
And then you can actually watch yourself again, and it's like, oh my.
Oh, really? That sounds actually kind of cool.
Yeah. So just pick whatever. Does anyone do the recording? Is that something that works for anyone here?
Something I do, and I don't know if this sounds.
Own yourself and record it. No, that wouldn't work.
I don't know if this sounds weird, but if I'm like, you know how you rage on a page? I will talk it out. Like if the person's there. And for the longest time, I used to think I was like crazy. But yeah, it totally helps.
It prevents you from being crazy because it gets it out. So stop believing the people that are telling you you're crazy. You're like, no, this is my prevention practice. So yeah, so whatever works for you. So yeah, you can probably just do phone recorder and just hear it back. So again, I'm someone who just, when I talk it out, I can hear it and then I can break it down and drill it down by talking it out. That's just kind of how I'm wired to do things. And then I shouldn't say I do write stuff down sometimes. Like I'll write down the belief, or I do both. So whatever works for you, And I love it, Yelena, you just said, you talk while driving. Me too. Yeah, the beauty about, me too. And in the shower. I talk to myself in the shower too. Yeah, and facing the wall behind me. I usually come and sit in here and turn and face the wall behind me and talk to myself. So I talk tons to myself, no shame. Tremendous wisdom comes from talking to yourself. Tremendous is available to you, just saying. So the next piece we can do is just really make a declaration to yourself. Because sometimes we're unintentional because we're kind of stuck in victim position, or we're not really, I don't know, we're just in the rhythm of our story. We're caught up in our story. So this is about really choosing to become the conscious creator of your experience. Like, are you ready? And if you're ready for it, then we got to choose it. Can't try or do when it's convenient. It's like, I choose this. So this is what a declaration could look like. It doesn't have to be this, but it could look like this. I am committed, and look at I am. I am is is a real strong statement. I am committed to bringing my limiting language to light to heal it. There's a very it's specific, it's direct, it's very clear. I am the conscious creator of my experiences. I am committed to my daily connection practice. I'm not going to try and do it. I'm not going to do it when it's convenient. I am committed to it. Universe, thank you for showing me how, and you could fill in how to catch my language, or how to deal with this issue, or how to understand this with grace and ease. So I often will pair that, I bring in universe a lot with stuff, or guides, guardians, angels, whoever you want, doesn't matter to me. Often, I don't get this, help me understand it. Thank you for helping me understand this. Thank you, I'm stuck here, thank you for showing me. So I do that often in my life. So when I feel like I have an I don't know, I don't stay in I don't know. I go to universe, help me understand, or help me know. Help me hear, see, know, feel. And then I pay attention. Okay, we're going to dive into that a little bit more next week, but I just wanted to just recognize that this is often very about making a declaration to be intentional. It's telling your subconscious, we're doing this. Okay. And then get out of the story. You got to get out of the story and reclaim your perspective of the wise leader. Remember, when you're immersed in the story and you're feeling triggered and you're feeling disturbed and you're feeling your beliefs on some level, you're believing your limits. Okay, so the way out is to come back and go to choose to be wise leader here. So that's all. When you feel the trigger, that is your clue. Okay, that you're immersed. So in order to become the master of yourself, higher self, and conscious creator of your experiences, you must clear the limits that you perceive to be holding you back or blocking you. So your triggers and obstacles are showing you exactly where your limits are hidden. They are golden opportunities to catch how you are holding yourself back so you can get out of your own way. Oh, you baby, you're in full charge, full power here. How cool is that? There is nothing holding you back from anything you choose but you. Woohoo! I know your story does not tell you that. So-and-so's holding me back, so-and-so's holding me back, that's holding me back. There's a limit there. I get that, right? But when we can just really own, so this is where I'm at now too, is I recognize that any limits I do have, which I still have them. I still have limits in my life because I'm still growing, I'm human. But I just recognize that they are self-imposed now. So anytime I start to go blame someone or start to, I just know right away, I'm like, oh, cool, there's something there for me. And it's like all about reclaiming my power there. And then that's fun. So check the energy behind this. Cool, I get to go reclaim some power. I have a story right now. I can feel it. I'm making you responsible, or I'm blaming you. And whenever I do that, I know that there's a power to be pulled back in here and that I get to choose differently. How fun is that? That's amazing. Right? And then I get to choose the experiences I have. And so do you. And here's the thing, when there's a will, there is a way always. I was reminded of, there's a book that keeps popping up on my Kindle without me choosing it. So it's Choosing Me. And I love it. It's such a good book. It's Money, a Love Story. I read it many years ago. And she talks, Kate Northrup is the author. It's a fabulous book. And she talks about one of those things where when we're not really that interested or it's not that convenient, we'd often sort of we're sort of partially committed. But just keep in mind that when there's a will and there's a determination and a decision and a commitment, there's always a way. So even though you might not see it, there always is. And it's really about getting to believe in that and just trust in that truth. So your triggers are always calling you to own your true power, your authentic voice, your innate gifts, your unconditional value, and your divine nature. That's not what your triggers are telling you. In fact, they're telling you the very opposite of that, which means they're always Money, a Love Story by Kate Northrup. So good. So your triggers are always, again, they're coming in opposition. They're making you feel like you don't have power. They're making you feel like you shouldn't have a voice. They're making you feel like you're not important. They're making you feel like you are insignificant and you don't have any gifts. Those are what your triggers are all here. That's why they're coming in, because they're triggering the old story that's in the way of you owning this truth. That's what a trigger is. So they're always inviting you to choose love over fear. Always. And so what is choosing love over fear? Well, that's coming in alignment with core self and wise self, which we talked about in Masterclass 2. And so that's this list here. So how do I choose love over fear? What does that even look like? That's one of the questions again. I don't even know. Okay, I can tell that I'm in fear and I can tell that I'm triggered. How do I get out of this? Right? And so it's beginning to really recognize, so you want to hear the story, you got to catch the language, right? And then we got to begin to go, ooh, okay, I can see that here's my fear coming up. It's telling me that I'm conditionally valuable. I'm only valuable when, or I have to do this to be of value. And that's you going, that's not true. That's fear. And you just check it. What's the energy behind this? Oh, I feel like shit. That's your clue. That's fear. How do you feel? It's fear. Right? Or if I feel really good, but in order to continue feeling good, I have to give up this, or I have to do this thing that I don't love. That's fear. I got to work really, really hard. I have to give up my needs. Oh, it feels good because I get love. Ooh, but I have to give up my needs in order to get that. So you just want to pay attention to that story. And again, that's the whole point of the identifying and listening, is to tease out that story, to catch what that story is and really paying attention to the limiting language. And then the practice will be to recognize fear and then begin to choose love. Don't worry, we're not going to do everything of that today, but this is what choosing love looks like, this list here. Okay? Questions so far? Okay. So it's just really identifying, what am I choosing? What am I believing? What is the language? Anything unclear? Anything not make sense? Please feel free to ask, because if you're thinking it, somebody else probably is too. I love the list. Okay, good. It's helpful. Because it is. It sounds like, okay, what's love? Okay, I don't know. So this is what, like I always say, love is, we go love and fear. When we look at love, this is all sort of in the energy of love. So how can I choose to be compassionate? How can I choose to be understanding? How can I choose to be joyful? Or how can I express my creativity? Or how can I, abundance, you know, seeing everything as abundant and that all is well. Yeah. Okay, so that's the identify. I want to give lots and lots of attention to this next section. Okay, so that's the identify piece. So you're really paying attention to key language, and then just being getting that information about kind of where am I at, what elevation am I at, kind of where am I sitting right now with this current story. The next step is to reframe and or choose anew. So this is one, recognizing your power to choose. Whatever story you're caught up in, or the story you're telling, which feels very, very real, right? You can choose anew. You can choose a new story at any point in time. You can choose a new experience. So you got to really own your power to do that. So this is all about, what do you choose instead? What language then supports that choice, and then adjust as needed till it feels right. And then what feeling is a match for your new choice. So we're going to dive into this. So once you identify your limiting beliefs, how do you shift them? So once you've kind of broken it down and you're seeing kind of the language and the words, we want to activate, this is a Kate Northrup thing too. She goes, activate your rock star inner litigator, right? And this is really, she used the example, which I love. She's like, what does she wear? Is she wearing pencil skirt and stilettos, or what? Like, almost give her an energy, whatever that is. You know, so the rock star inner litigator is this sort of powerhouse. Okay, and she's empowered. That's who your rock star inner litigator is. It's the part of you that's going to stand up for you. This is the part of you that's going to invite an alternative, empowered viewpoint. She's not going to argue your victim position. Sometimes we do that. I argue my victim position. I argue why I should be here and why I deserve to believe this and why I whatever. This person is going to come in and argue against that. Okay, she's going to invite in a whole new perspective. You know, how could you argue against this limiting belief? You know, so if you were to just, this is playing devil, like kind of devil's advocate, or what do they do in the debate school? In school, they kind of teach, they give you a topic and they go, okay, you're going to argue for and you're going to argue against. And it's just turning on the part of you that's going to go, you know what, I'm not going to attach to this belief. And if I'm not attached to it, what could I believe instead? You totally have the power and knowledge and ability to be able to do that. So how can I argue against a limiting belief? What evidence can you find to support the opposing viewpoint, which is really an empowered viewpoint? What examples can you find from your own life or your world around you to like bolster it? Because that can be helpful too. You know, sometimes we have to just go, well, you know, can you think of examples of it? Can you think of, this is usually what I'm doing with people in a coaching session when I'm trying to get, I'm inviting them, trying to get them, look at that, inviting them to choose a new perspective. This is sort of what I'm doing. Well, have you ever thought of it this way? Did you ever consider this? Do you have an example in your own life where that wasn't true or this was true? So I'm really just sort of being this person for people in our sessions. Write up the most compelling argument against your limiting thinking or your stinking thinking. And what do you choose to believe instead? So I would like to just take some time to do that right now. So hopefully I've mentioned over the course of the week that maybe you would just collect some of your limiting beliefs. If you all have at least one limiting belief that you can play with today, that you picked up along the way. If at the very least, I mean, chances are most of us have like something along the lines of what I need to do to get my needs met. That's a great one to go. So for me, often in order to get my need met, I have to actually give up my need or I have to meet other people's needs first in order to get mine met. That was a big one for me because my needs are a burden, you know. I can't have what I want unless the person who has to give it to me gets their need met first. Do you know that? Yeah, so there's lots of juicy stuff in there for me too, right? So again, just sort of write down maybe a sentence or a belief that you would like to begin to shift here. And then just take a few minutes here to just argue against it. What else could be true? Is it possible? And just see if you can come to a new belief instead. And this is really just kind of like, and coming from an empowered perspective, that more loving perspective. If anyone's stuck or has a question at this point, feel free to ask. I can help you work through it. There's always value in a little demo. Yes, Yelena.
Trying to unmute. So if I use people don't take me seriously or I'm not being taken seriously, how do you flip that? Just say the opposite, like in a positive way. I am being taken seriously.
Okay, so why aren't you being taken seriously? Why do you believe?
Because things are, I feel like I'm not being taken seriously simply because I don't see the respect shown for my time and efforts.
So my time and efforts aren't respected?
Yes.
Why?
I don't see the results that I think I should be seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and is there a reason why you think that they don't respect you?
That probably isn't true, but in my head, it seems like it's true.
Yeah. Go ahead and say whatever. Yeah, don't filter. You don't filter at this point.
I guess what I put in, I don't receive it in the same way and also the same amount, or it's not reciprocal.
Mm-hmm. How come?
I think it's my expectation that people should reciprocate in the same way that I give myself into helping them, working for them, just using using up all of my energy and putting my heart and soul into things to make it happen.
Yeah, but you don't get the same back.
Yeah, exactly.
No. And is there a belief about who you are or why that happens?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. So do you think it means anything about you?
First word that comes to mind is victim.
There you are. Okay, so you got your victim position. So I would like I look at it kind of like, oh, people never give me back what I put out.
Mhm.
Right? So so as a result of that, what can't you have, or how's that holding you back? Or how's that hurting you?
I'm thinking.
Mhm.
I don't feel, I guess, fulfilled.
Okay, so I'm not fulfilled because other people aren't giving me what I need. I'm not
Mhm.
fulfilled, so play with that. That's where you want to play with. And now you want to argue against that. So I can't feel fulfilled until people give me what I need or people fulfill me.
Mhm.
So right now there's a waiting for something outside of you. So that's why I'm doing for everybody else, so that I feel fulfilled, so that they can give me, so there's a feeling you're going after.
Mhm.
Something outside of you're waiting for something outside of you to give it. So
Okay.
can you argue against that? So right now there's in order for you to be fulfilled, other people have to behave a certain way.
Right. Yeah.
Now you want to argue against that. Could you feel fulfilled in it? My inner litigator, or my litigator would come fulfilled, oh, good Lord, a different way. Do you have to wait for them? Do you have to? That's the inner litigator. And then you want to begin to go, and begin to have this.
Mhm.
Well, what does she say about that? See how that works?
Mhm.
Okay. So
What was the original sentence that you said? I'm not fulfilled because.
people don't give
Oh yes.
me what I need to feel fulfilled. So right now you're waiting other people. You've given your power to other people. So that's victim. You're in victim position for sure. Yay! Golden opportunity. What was coming into me too, just as an example from last time, this is just right, I was right as we were going out, Melanie's example that she used last time about she can't be, and I'm going to use your words, okay? This is not how I feel. This is the words based on that. So it was like, I can't be a kick-ass coach because I'm fat. Okay, so it was about arguing against that. Right? So that is like your story. There's a story there around that. It's not true, right? So now how would you argue against that belief? Right? That makes sense? Yeah. Hope it's okay that I shared that. I think it's just a great example from last week that we kind of pulled through. Right? So argue against that, sucker. Right? And then Jen's, yours last week was having to do with you couldn't make a career change because of you couldn't afford it, or you again, there was things outside of you that were holding you back or preventing you from having the answers, right? Yeah. So it's again, can you argue against that? Can you argue against the fact that you don't have to use that, but I just want to use the ones that we talked about last week as reference. Any questions about that? So you kind of want to, you'll notice that we want to kind of drill it down a bit. You want to get down to Yelena's core belief there, or the limiting belief. Yeah, awesome. The limiting belief, which is really that like here's what the story is. These people don't reciprocate, and these people aren't giving me what I need, and that's the story. But you want to get down to why you think that story is that way, and really on the heart level is that like, well, they're not fulfilling me. And then there's a story about what it takes for you to be fulfilled. And right now you can't fulfill yourself. It's dependent on people outside of you. So can you argue against that? I think that's usually where our limits are. It's because we believe somebody is not giving us what we need. Whether that's permission, approval, affirmation, validation. Yes, Jen?
Okay, so my big one is that I have to do more, work harder, work longer, take on multiple roles in order to be considered of value or worth. Yet I know that's not true, but it's one that I keep coming, I'm constantly faced with.
Because you still believe it to be true.
Yeah. And
also, here's the thing too, remember when we check, so many of us have set up our lives according to these beliefs.
yeah.
And so we have all the people, we work in the organizations, and we are attracted, like our current network will keep reflecting that back to me. So remember that your current experience is a reflection of your past choices. So as you go to begin to choose a new belief, it will continue to be reflected to you. your current beliefs because you set your life up according to that, like your past choices or your current experience. So recognizing that it's once I begin to choose anew, I will have to, those will be there for me to go, yeah, no, sorry. I don't believe that anymore. We're good. Thank you for that. That's contrast, not interested. So especially when you first, and so that does take some resolve. This, just because I switch the belief doesn't mean it's going to flip it instantly. Does that make sense? I know especially when we set up our entire life, when we talk about core beliefs, like really deep ones, usually our entire life is rooted around it, which is what we kind of all of a sudden like, whoa, it's everywhere. It's coming at me. It's like, yeah, because your whole life is built on this one belief. Well, that's rooted in this, that my values attached to what?
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry. Oh no, I have to detach everything one by one. No, you don't have to do that. Just deal with each little step as it comes up. We're going to talk about it.
Okay.
So, but just go ahead and argue against that for now, even though your world is reflecting to you that this belief to be true.
Okay.
Is that the question?
Yeah, it's one that I'm bad. I'm just saying it's the one that I am constantly at odds with.
Yeah. So showing you, so here instead of I'm at odds with it, or my life is currently showing me all the different areas and ways that this belief is true. That's it. That's all that's happening here.
Yes.
Yeah. So that belief is active over here. It's active over here. It's active over here. It's active over here. Don't worry. When you begin to shift the belief, they all begin to shift. So you don't have to go shift all of these things. Go shift the belief that's underneath them, and those things will begin to shift. So don't worry. You don't have to.
Okay. I feel like I've kind of gone like my action though is to almost go to the opposite. Like my house isn't clean. There's like, how do I let go of all this? Yeah. So yeah.
I did the same thing. I swung to the complete other side, and I landed there and went, oh, can I be here? And I learned to be there quite fine. And then I found where I chose to be. So I swung over here and went, wow, I can be completely over here. And I learned to be okay here, which is a pretty cool place when you can go, this is exactly where I'm at, swing opposite and be here. And I'm actually okay here. And now what do I choose?
Yeah, that's where I am right now.
I kind of like this here, so recognizing you get to choose.
Yeah, that's where I am right now. I'm just sitting in my pigsty, metaphorical and literal. And I'm trying to figure out where my center point is.
Yeah, but here's the cool thing.
I get to figure it out.
You get to choose it.
I get to choose it.
And that is the beauty of this is now, yes, the world will continue, your people will continue to reflect to you what they choose, what they believe. You just don't have to believe it.
Okay.
That's your power. Let's see this.
Okay. And then I've got 1,000,000,001 ideas and I'm scattered and I gotta focus it somehow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
This awareness thing is great. It's in the end, I promise.
Okay.
We're working through some of the mucky stuff. It's a little bit mucky, which is why it's so good we have our people surrounding us who are doing the mucky stuff with us.
Right.
Okay. Colleen, did you have something?
I think we already talked about it today, but it was, I have to perform and achieve to belong.
To belong.
I guess to belong, is, who would I be if I wasn't living up to performance and achievement expectations?
Who would you be? And that's what I want you to argue. That's what I want you to argue. So remember that's, I don't know. That's like you're wounded inner child. I don't know. That feels scary. But bring out the inner litigator. Who would you be?
I would be free.
Oh, yeah. Right? And so go argue. That's where you're going to go argue. Well, you just moved. All right. So that's what we want to kind of look. Are you seeing how this works? You kind of want to get to that root belief. So you'll get the story and you want to kind of drill it down. So the story is probably full of like all those words and all those keywords, and you'll drill it down to a belief, right? That feels very true. And there may be some of those words in it there too. And then you get to go, okay, I choose to change this. Right? And we're going to talk about how to change it. But the inner litigator is the starting point to argue a new point of view. And can you get to a new belief out of that? Okay. Yes, Stella.
So when you were talking with Yelena, you know, peel back the layer or for the finding that belief. So when you say argue against it, can you just be more like argue against the belief of not getting fulfilled until, you know, it's outside of you?
Yeah.
How can you just put that into like, here's the argument, here's the, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
So Yelena, can you articulate? I'll do it with Yelena. We'll do it. Is that okay? Okay. So can you just remind me of your belief again?
I'm not fulfilled because people don't give me what I need.
So the great question you could ask there is this really true?
No.
Does this have to be true? What else could be true?
That I'm the only one that can make myself happy and give myself happiness, and I'm in charge of my happiness.
Yeah, there you are. So how does the belief of like going from, what was the first one? So other people have to make me happy to I'm in charge of my happiness.
Right. I have started writing, I'm fulfilled because I'm in charge of my own happiness.
I am fulfilled and I'm in charge of my own happiness.
Right.
Okay. Right. So you're just going to ask that question. So you could, and you may, like I could have, Yelena may had a lot of rebuttals there. Yeah, but. And so the idea being is that you want to just, could it be really true? Do you have other examples of your life? Can you see anyone else that this isn't true for? Does anyone else want to give an example? Do you want me to work with your example, Della?
I don't have necessarily an example because I when she said the word reciprocal and, you know, the outside of you, I've kind of been through that with something. So, but when you said argue against it, I was confused for a moment to go, what am I arguing against? But it was more about the having someone, like having look outside of you to be okay, or value or whatever.
I'm valued when something inside of you values me.
Pardon?
I'm of value when something outside of me values me.
Right. And so the argument to that is the positive language around the truth is I'm of value no matter what.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
So you might be best.
I was confused on the argument part. Was I arguing the part of the actual belief, or was I going the other? That's where I was like. Great question.
So when you get the limiting belief, which is the belief around I'm of value when somebody else values me, would be a martyr position. There's a martyr victim position, right? So and so you would argue against that being true, right? So you're going to prove it wrong. Let's say that we're going to prove it wrong. You're going to prove that belief wrong. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
That fits more. Yeah, that fits more for me.
How we talk it through here. So you're going to prove that belief wrong. And what you ended up getting to, which you just said, which is, oh, what was the new one that you said?
I am of value no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm of value always. Yeah. So that's the new one. So you got there. You didn't have to argue.
Because I was just gotten confused. What am I arguing again?
Because you're like, I just got there in 2 seconds. So you might just be, which is the next one we're going to do, which is the flip the script one. So again, sometimes we have a really deep rooted one where we're not convinced yet. You know, we've got a deep rooted belief and we're like, oh, this feels really real and true for me. Like Della, we may have talked about this one 5 years ago and you may have been like, I don't know about that. And so you may need to kind of really, which we really, if you look at what we've done over the years, we brought an argument for that. I brought in a new point or a new way of seeing it. Okay.
Yeah, it was the reciprocal part that Yelena said that going, you know, on a relationship sake. So, you know, okay, thanks.
Awesome. So then you want to get down what you choose instead. Did everybody get to what they choose instead? Like a new viewpoint? A new belief? Okay. So then so that would be a technique. That's one technique. So just notice that some of you might love the inner litigator technique. I think I kind of like it myself. Jen's laughing because that's what I spent my whole youth doing, is arguing my point of view, to convince people to say yes to me all the time.
She got way more than I ever got. She was a kick-ass litigator.
I learned, and I now realize that I was building a skill that I need now in my job, really, is that that's what I do for people often, is I act this sort of, but I came in as a like, I need my need met. I came in as like, I'm going to really logically and articulately to help you say yes to me and convince you that what I'm saying is right. So I laugh because I do kind of enjoy that process. However, you may also choose this other technique of getting there, which is called flip the script. So again, what is your current belief? If you want right now, pick a new belief that you want to pop in here, or you can just do the same one, whatever you want. And what is the exact opposite of that? Right? So just literally play with the word so it's in the exact opposite. So if it says I can't afford it, it's I can't afford it. Okay. So just put it in the, just do that right now. Put it in the exact, like flip the words into the exact opposite, and what do you get? Now here's the thing about beliefs. You must believe effective. So sometimes when we flip something into the exact opposite, you don't believe it. So I go, I can't afford it, goes to I can afford it. You're like, yeah, but I can't. Like literally, I can't afford it. So like you have to be able to massage it in a way to make sure that it's believable to you. So when you say that belief, so whatever you come to, and I'm going to teach you how to do this shortly in a moment, whatever belief you do land upon, that final one, it's got to resonate. If you're sitting up there going, yeah, that sounds good. Sounds like something Andrew would say. It sounds like what I should say, but you don't believe it, it won't work for you. Okay, it won't work for you. So you do need to massage the words and get to a place where you can believe it, where it's a level up from wherever you've been, and it's believable. It's essential that it's believable because you got to get into the feeling of it. So this little exercise is really just about changing it from a limiting to belief to like a positive affirmation, and then it's tweaking it and massaging it so that you do believe it. And then you can use this belief as a touchstone. So, and whenever you catch yourself in a like in a spin or a stinking thinking, or like you're kind of going down that route, you can just sort of say the new belief or the new positive affirmation, and it's a reminder to check yourself. It's a reminder to shift your energy. It's a reminder to begin to act more in alignment with this belief. That's kind of what this practice is really about. So you always want to kind of convert the low, if we bring in sort of the elevations and the language stuff, you kind of want to convert the lowest elevation. So if it's really like your limiting one, to whatever's the next elevation that's believable. So if it means that you're level elevation 1 and you can get to elevation 2 or elevation 1, just positive form of it, then that's where you're at. And then, and be open to growing your beliefs. Okay. So here's how we do this. This is what this looks like. Questions so far? Okay, so you may have just flipped the script on that one thing. You've got this sort of new belief, and it's kind of like, okay, I can get there, or the exact opposite just completely doesn't work for me. So here's how this could look. So I'm going to go to the chart on your page 4 here. So we're going to just start. This is how you can grow a belief and you move up. So maybe you have this limiting belief. I can't afford to leave my job that I dislike. Okay, what is the energy of that belief? Right? Pretty like limited, like obviously it's elevation 1. Yeah. So anything highlighted on here, underlined on here is reflecting the kind of the elevation level of the limiting, is reflecting the limiting aspect of the belief. I can't afford. The flipping it, so I've done it where I've got an opposing belief and then a positive affirmation. So just kind of two different ways you can look at it. So again, this is just giving you a couple different options of flipping it when you for each one. So I can afford to have a job that I love. That's just the complete opposite. And then the affirmation is I have a job that I love. And you're sitting over here, I don't have a job that I love. I'm sitting in a job that I hate and I cannot get there. That's cool. I don't expect you to get there. It will not fix your situation if you are not in agreement with the belief. So then we got to get to your believable belief. So this is where the massaging comes in the playing. You know, you want to get out of limitation and lack, but you're not at mastery with this yet. And you can't just get into the energy as I have a job that I love. So it could be, I choose to know how I can afford to change jobs. We got out of the job that I dislike. We got out of can't, and we opened possibility. We put it into positive focus and we created possibility there. Because you get to the level, I choose to know how I can afford to change my jobs. So one is recognizing your power to choose. You just up-leveled yourself right there. Okay, feel the energy difference. I want you both to say it out loud. You're all muted here. I would like you to say each of those beliefs out loud. I can't afford to leave my job that I dislike. So just say that. Feel the energy of that. And then say the believable belief. I choose to know how I can afford to change jobs, right? So there's a real energy shift in that. It's recognizing choice. We've moved out of lack and limitation. Okay, we moved up to the elevation level, which is positive focus. So again, you could almost see that this is something how you could even be this. I use this one example all the way through. So you can see how you might, such a difference, how you could move through a belief. Okay, I'm going to show you how to move through, not that it has to look exactly like this, just an example. And then I'm going to talk about what gets in the way. Okay, which may be coming up as I literally talk about this. So I'm trying to find a new job that doesn't suck. Okay, so we are in wishy-washy. But you're out of limitation, right? So you're out of limitation. You're into, at least you're trying, right? So every level that we move up, we create some movement. We create some level of motion. We invite the universe in just a little bit more. So recognize that every elevation helps. I choose to know how my ideas will come together for a fulfilling career experience. Yes. Perfect example. Yeah, so I don't know how. Well, I choose to know. That's the best way to do it. So getting out of complete, I don't know, and the limitation is just choose to have the experience. And we create momentum there. So sometimes we go, well, I got to get to 12. It's like in time, like jumping from 1 to 12 without actual belief is useless. So go ahead and allow yourself to build it over time. So this is how we do this. So this is wishy-washy. So the actual flip of that looks like I'm committed to my new job that I enjoy, or I just plain out sort of affirmation, I enjoy my job. Okay, that would be like a level 12 manifesting. That's what the kind of language you would use. But it's not believable yet. I'm still in this job that sucks, right? So I'm trying, and so the new place you could get to is, well, I'm committed to changing jobs to enjoy what I do. Shift the energy. I'm focused on lack, sucking, and limitation on the one side. And over here, I'm in direct decision. I'm at elevation level 3. I still have some lack in there and maybe not recognizing my choice and stuff. That's cool. You're still up. You're still moving. You're moving. So feel the energy shift in that. So I'm committed to changing jobs to enjoy what I do. Can you believe that? Yeah, I'm committed to that. I'll do whatever it takes to find a new job that pays well and that I enjoy. Grandly uncommitted. I'll do whatever it takes. Well, what does that mean? Okay, so sometimes we'll do that. Okay, yeah, I'm committed to doing this and I'm committed to doing whatever it takes. Great, that's awesome. We've created a movement. There's possibility in there, but there still lacks some specificity. There's still some limitations. So you may find that you'll get a little bit movement, but then it'll stall out. It's really setting you up to have to work really hard. Me?
No, like the language of I'll do whatever it takes. Like the first thing that comes to mind is like that energy. It's like setting me up to feel like I need to work really hard to do something, right? Like,
and
I'll do whatever it takes, like whatever it could be, a list of 1,000 things, right? Like, and I'm going to do all of it, right? Like it just sort of feels very time consuming and like there's no way I'm going to get everything done. That's sort of the energy that it has, at least for me.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then that's the energy that it feels for you. So that is the reflection of what will come back to you. Because all of a sudden there's 500 things that you need to do in order to get the new job. And it's super overwhelming. And I'm left in this kind of like grandiose place of like, I've got some movement, but then I'm stalled out. So recognizing that every level of elevation will create some movement, will create some motion. So it's better than level one. Well, I don't even want to say better. If you're going for movement and you're going shifts, then it's better. Okay. And so, but then at some point you're going to stall out. And so instead of, and it's going to look like a trigger, it's going to look like a problem, it's going to look like an obstacle. But that obstacle or trigger is just showing you what level you're at and that there's room for you to now, okay, cool. I get to now go create a new shift. Maybe I'm ready for a new level of belief. How cool is this? This is how we can just baby step it forward. So the groundly uncommitted is I enjoy a job, my job, remember it's my job that pays me well. I joyfully accept abundant financial compensation with ease. You might not be there yet. You're like, yeah, okay. You know, there's probably a whole lot of, you may at this point have a whole lot of attachments and beliefs around the channels that it comes in and you can't get there. So I am in the process of finding a job that I enjoy and pays me well. That's cool. That's up from I'm committed. I'm actually in the process now. I'm creating some more movement. I'm creating some more motion, but you're still in process only. And that is I'm in the process of finding. But that's okay. Sometimes we need to be there. Sometimes that's exactly where the right place for us to be is because I don't have all the pieces yet. I need some more clarity and some more whatever. That's cool. Right. And the thing is, as that information comes in, then I stall out. That's my clue. Or I hit a ceiling or I hit a block. That's your clue. Okay, cool. We're at the next level now. So instead of seeing it as a block, ooh, cool. I'm being invited to the next level of mastery. How fun is that? Hey? It's a whole different perspective of our triggers and our obstacles and our ceilings, right? It's seeing it as opportunity rather than seeing it as something holding you down. So the next level could be, I deserve a new job that pays well because I work hard. Conditional allowing, because I've worked really, really hard, because I've earned it, because hi, Jen. That's kind of what yours is, right? There's a little bit of that. I got to work really, really hard to have something. And this is a lot of us on here. I know that. So the flip of this could be my unique brilliance creates financial abundance, or I create financial abundance. Yeah, I create financial abundance. But again, you might not be able to get there yet. That's super cool. So the years of experience I have on the job create financial abundance. Know that this is vague choice. You're kind of making it the experience and the job, except for it's an up level. It's you're at a higher level now. So you're focused on your experience, maybe rather than your gifts. That's cool. We're open. We're acknowledging our experience. We're acknowledging what we have. It's an up level and it will create momentum. Then when you hit that ceiling, that level of belief rings, then we could look at, I have job options, but none of them pay enough because it's calling your attention to your conditions. That's what the ceiling is about. It's, well, you have conditions on this ceiling, my dear, and it's time to remove them. So this is our counseled out level. And so then this is, you could look, I am paid $100,000 per year in income from my job. Ooh, that's nice and specific, right? My job pays me abundantly. And then you might be like, well, I can't even get to fathom how I would earn $100,000 a year because I've only ever been paid 50. So I can't get there and imagine. So therefore it's not a believable belief. However, I can get to, I have job options and I choose to be paid $50,000 a year or more. Tack that little more on there. Della had this awesome thing with her house. Like she had a perception of what she thought it might be worth, but she didn't want to limit it and let her perceptions of what she thought limit her. So she went, well, I'm open to it being this or more. And they did get more, way more. So don't cap yourself or choose to uncap yourself. Choose to be capless. Sorry. So this is positively confirmed, and notice that there's no, I can have both. Sometimes this level is really calling our attention to our beliefs about we can only have one or the other of something, right? Or there's really conditions about, okay, if I'm going to earn 100 or I'm going to earn that amount, then I'm going to have to give up something. I can't have it all, Well, up until this point, you may not have had that experience because you believe that to be true. But let's create some possibility here. And so that believable belief creates possibility, and it opens the door and has you bust through that next level, okay, in time. I will choose the job that makes my parents proud, or I'll choose the job that makes my partner happy, or I'll choose the job because someone else tells me that it's okay. This is called codependence. And this, and even I think Yelena and Della, this is sort of when you're talking about your beliefs, on some level, there's a codependent piece there, which is that I can't have what I want until somebody else gives it to me. So I'm dependent, which is, I think a lot of us probably have this in some way, just you gave some beautiful examples today. So I can have it when someone else gives me permission. And that I'm then dependent on that person to behave the way I need them to behave in order for me to be okay. Ceiling, bam. Because we can't control the people. Damn it. No, but it's just showing our codependence, that's all. And yay, I get to give it to myself, which looks like I will choose the job that makes me happy, or my job brings me joy, or I choose a job that brings me joy. If you can't get maybe the believable level. So choose a job that brings me joy is kind of unspecific, although it's really up there in a level of like, it's a high vibe place to be. And if you don't have the specifics of what that looks like yet, that's a really lovely place to land. Right? It's a lovely place to land and to be. It's better than I can't afford to leave my job. Do you see that? The energy, oopsie, sorry. I just turned my camera off. Right? At this level, you'll still hit a limit at some point, because at some point it will be asking for you to get more clear. Right? And it'll be asking you to go, okay, cool. It brings you joy. What else do you want? It brings me joy, but I don't have this. Okay, cool. Let's get clear and let's get more specific. But I love getting into like that sort of general place in this high vibe place. And then we can add specificity as we get clear, as our core self and our wise self takes the lead. Right? That's the way I like to do it. My preference. And then the next level is I empower myself to have a job that delights my body, mind, and soul. This is I'm empowering myself. It's I give myself the choice. I like this one. I like delights body, mind, and soul, because I feel like it takes all of it into account. Right? I feel like it takes all of the pieces in a lovely little sentence. It might not for you, but this is what I like. I believe it was Rebecca Campbell who uses it in one of the card decks. I was like, ooh, I love that sort of description. Right? And so what delights my body, mind, body, and soul might not be what delights yours. That's cool. And so getting clear on what delights me, right? And that I invite and I empower myself to give myself that. Whew. Feel the energy behind that. Whew. Now this is outcome creator. This is a high manifesting state. So when we're at number 11, an outcome creator, this is where things can be in really nice flow. Likely things, there's not a lot of limits here. You're in a really empowered place. There's only one level up from this, and one level up from this tends to create things really, really fast. And if you have any gunk in the way, it calls it up quick. Okay, and sometimes it happens a little bit too fast for people. So I don't recommend ever going from 1 to 10 or 12. We can sometimes get into this like, okay, you're going to get in a pretty intense experience if you're at 1. An intense clearing experience, which means probably lots of stuff coming up for you. Cool. You want to be at this I am level, at this level, then we got to clear this, which it means that it often looks like a lot of triggers and a lot of stuff coming up for you. That's the way I did it. I was like, I'm done. And then I just went through this crazy intense about 2 years. It was super intense. I didn't totally know what I was doing. I think that's probably why. But it was like, I had this like, bring it on attitude. I don't always recommend that because it can be like, it can be intense. It doesn't have to be that way. Okay, so we can just build beliefs like this in a lovely, lovely way and just be in tune. Cool. I feel like I just hit a ceiling. Awesome. What's my next level? And then just really consciously moving through it. gently. This is my new way. I kind of done with that old way of doing things, but it was such a match for my achiever. Right. So, and also I just really wanted to be done with struggle. I was really done with it. And probably even just for the work I do, it was a valued, a value in all the grand scheme of things, but you don't have to do it that way. And chances are, if you're feeling like it's going like that, you may be really be calling in this mastery level, and you're maybe there may be too big of a gap. Like I'm at, I'm kind of sitting at 5, and then I've called in 12, and I'm now feeling the speed up of things. And that's all that's going on. Okay. So I empower myself. Like, that's a great statement on its own. One level up from that could really be, I have a job that delights my mind, body, and soul, my mind, body, and soul. It's complete ownership. Level 12 is I own it. I am it. It's who I am. That's what level 12 is all about. My job delights my body, mind, and soul. So it's just full ownership level. And it's like your identity. I am the creator of my job that delights my body, mind, and soul. So feel the energy of that. Whew, it's high vibe. Okay, so that's where we're moving towards. Okay, gently, over time, as you choose. Now, I wanted to give you some examples of level 12, like some examples of beliefs that you could have. Now, these aren't the only thing. These are just sort of what a level 12 mastery level statement could look like. So I have a job as a mindset coach that delights my body, mind, and soul. Fill in the blank for your type. I am a financially abundant mindset coach. I am the creator of my job that delights my body, mind, and soul, and that generates financial freedom. Yummy. I enjoy my job that generates 100,000 per year and or more in income and is aligned with my unique brilliance. Whew, yummy, yummy, yummy. Right? But we got to believe that. So when you can believe that to be true and you're in the energizing of it, it comes in quick. But just remember, it clears anything in the way quick too. And those are your triggers or your obstacles or your hurdles or your ceilings. And so now you know what they're for. Questions, comments? Yes, Yelena.
So when you refer to the unique brilliance, can you replace it with your values?
Sure, my values. Yeah, not your value. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if
my values, they're aligned with my values, for sure.
because that sounds more mainstream as opposed to unique brilliance.
Yeah. So again, like you said, if you're sitting there going, yeah, what's that? Don't put it in your belief. Like for me, because I know what that means, I'm like, oh, it's like, for me. But for you, you're like, hey, yeah, I want my value system. Cool. That is what you pop in there. So these are just examples or samples of what it could look like. So the importance of massaging it, tweaking it, and making it believable.
Okay. Thank you.
So now we're going to try this for yourselves. So we're going to take your current limiting belief, okay, one you've already worked on, and you can just sort of tweeze it out here, or one that, a new one, if you have another one that you've got from your list. And so just, I like, or write down the current limiting belief, and then just highlight the words. Okay, why is it limiting? Underline them or highlight them. Okay, these are the words that show me that they're limiting. What emotion does it make you feel? So when you say it out loud, what do you feel? And then what is the lowest elevation that this reflects? So just go, where does it sit? Where on the chart is it? And then what is the opposing belief? So how are you going to flip it? So flip the script or become the inner litigator. What are you going to get into the new one? Is it believable? Yes or no? And then if not, tweak it. So get it into the zone and then just see, what elevation am I at now? Okay, so I'm at an 8 or I'm at a 5. Remember, no judgment. So one of the things we kind of go do is like, oh, I need to be at a 12. Damn it, I'm only at a 5. Well, if you were at a 1 and now you're at a 5, that's called progress. Okay? So just own it and just see it as that, and that you get to grow it to that place. And you might find that you go 1 to 5 like fairly quick, maybe not, who knows? We got to let go of some of this stuff, and that you can move through it quicker. This doesn't mean that you have to sit here for a long time, especially with a new level of awareness. Now you can see what it's all about. Oh, it's just a ceiling, and I get to remove the ceiling. Look at my power, right? And then what elevation is the new belief? And then what is emotion? So what is the emotion that you're now at? So I was maybe at worry before or doubt before, and now I'm at optimism, or now I'm at contentment, or what is the, where are you at? So go and have some fun playing with that. Questions? Make sure you ask questions if you have them. And you can always just use the exact belief you just did and kind of plunk it in here with some of this other information, like check the emotion of it and just kind of acknowledge kind of where it's at as far as the elevation. So you can just do the one you did already if that's helpful. Does anyone want to share or want me to help them work through it now that you've had some time to play with it? Yep, Elena.
I don't have anything to share because I'm okay. But I just wanted to say that when we were talking about how do we record, write, or whatever our thoughts, when I drive, I talk to myself, but I also call on my iPhone and say, hey, Siri, make a note. And then I dictate. Oh, actually, my Siri is.
What do you want it to say?
Perfect example. And then she reads it back to me, what I dictated, because that, and do you want me to save this? So then I hear what I said, and then I add more, because there's a limit on how much you can dictate on at least an iPhone. But anyway, it's actually great because I've done some good breakthroughs while driving.
Oh, good. What a great, thank you for sharing that. That's actually
Yeah.
cool. So easy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and then you hear someone like read it back to you. That's valuable.
Yeah, Siri reads it back to you.
And it's so good to hear your own beliefs read back to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Specifically when you're on the go.
Yeah.
And you just get that and you're like, I can't stop the car right now. I need something.
Yeah. So good.
Anyway.
Love it, love it, love it. Great tip. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Yes, Jen.
I noticed like the one I'm doing right now, like if you're wondering what I was doing, I was looking for my emotional GPS. But what I noticed was even though one of my beliefs is a level 1, and then flipping it goes to, like, I'm not definitely at a 12.
Yeah, no.
So I'm definitely a level 2 in this. But what I noticed was when you use the GPS, your, like, the emotion that you feel at a level 1 is pretty crappy. But even when you move to a level 2, it goes up like quite high.
So cool.
Yeah, like that's pretty neat.
Yes.
Because you wouldn't think that, right? Like you're only moving up little teeny levels, but you do go to the other side of the emotional GPS.
Yeah.
Like there's a big jump.
And that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. The idea being is, we got to create the shift and the momentum to move on to that other side, right? Because our energy is a huge influence. So now the energy that's energizing that belief is a high vibe energy versus a low vibe one.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Anyone else want to share their example, want some help with theirs, or have any questions? Or any questions about this whole process of getting to your beliefs or articulating them? Yeah, or reframing. Yes, Jen.
I find when I'm writing down the limiting belief that it's coming out more in statements of what I'm afraid of.
Sure.
And so how do you sort of distinguish between fears and the actual root belief?
So you can work with what your fears are. Can you give me an example? Are you okay if you give me an example?
Yeah. So, I mean, I originally wrote down I have this triggering situation at work right now, and I know it's triggering me where it's like, unless I'm outperforming everyone, I'm not valued or worthy enough to own the work, own the credit, or lead the role. And as I started to write it out in that sort of now it's turn page, I started to write that out. And then it's like, I'm afraid that my skills aren't good enough. I'm afraid that my depth of knowledge is actually too shallow. And so I'm sort of fearing when people are coming to me and they're wanting to be involved and they're wanting to help, my reaction internally is that it's a threat, that it's going to show my weaknesses as opposed to complement what I'm actually bringing to the table. So I feel like I have this belief that if I don't tell everybody what it is that I know, or if I don't have this really deep knowledge set, that I will be disregarded, or that I'll be like, I won't be at the table with everyone doing what I think is something that I really want to be part of and really want to drive and to lead.
Right. So if you were to sum that up into a simple statement, so when I don't know enough, isn't it know enough? I'm disregarded. Or if I don't know enough, or I will be excluded. Or I'm not knowledgeable enough, could be a belief. These are all things you could play with. I'm not knowledgeable enough. I'm not skilled enough. Or my lack of something, my lack of skill means I'm unworthy. You can play with any of those.
So fears and beliefs are very synonymous, essentially.
Yeah. So a fear is a reflection of a limiting belief.
Yeah.
Yes, Jen Wilson. Yeah.
Okay, so my challenge, I have too many unconnected ideas that paralyze me into inaction. Like I have so many ideas, they paralyze me into inaction. Like that, is that what you would call a limiting belief, or is it that?
My ideas paralyze me?
Yes.
Jeez.
I have too many of them. I have so many of them that I'm like, what do I chase?
Yeah. So you could argue, is it your ideas that paralyze you? Is your argument, is it your ideas that paralyze you, or could it be something else?
Well, Jen just said it actually. She said she's afraid her skills are too shallow. Like they're not, I have that thought as well, that I don't know enough. So if I don't know enough, then all these ideas I have just can't ever be enough. They won't come together to form anything because I don't know enough.
Right. Is that true? So this is where you want to bring, yes. Okay. Thank you, Melanie. I know. So this is where you want to argue that point. This is where you bring out that inner litigator. So you may have to bring it and just argue the point of going, okay, is that really true? Do I really not know enough? Do I really don't have the skills? Or is that just a fear I have? Because this is just what a fear is, a fear. What if I had, what if I had all that I need? What would I have to believe if I have exactly what I need to excel at what I'm meant to do?
Say that again.
What if I already have exactly what I need to excel at what I'm meant to do?
Okay, that's key.
Put that meant to in there. That really changed my argument that I was just about to rebuttal to that, or what my ego is rebuttaling to it, which is
what I'm
like,
meant to do.
How do I know if I know enough? How do I know? And that's where my belief system, or my tendency, is to go outside of me and to wait for someone to tell me, oh, you know enough now. You know enough now. I'm going to promote you. You know enough now. I'm going to listen to you and take your advice. You know enough now that I'm worthy of being an ear to you, right? Like that's where my ego goes, right? And so if it's like my fear is that I don't know enough, so people won't listen, that my advice won't go anywhere. And then what value am I then? I'm not contributing. I'm not part of this. I'm not part of, you know what I mean? And so that's where it's like, when you say things like, well, what if I know enough now? What if right now is exactly what I need to be? I struggle with creating the new believable belief, because I keep going back to, but then how do I know? How do I know if I know enough?
Oh, I choose. Then we get to, I choose to know. I choose to know how. I choose to know how I feel confident. I choose to know the steps to being confident. I choose to be confident, or I choose to trust myself. So those are little plays that we can get to, little ways that we can play with that. And those are right or wrong. It's just like, so that's what you want to bring in with your inner litigator, is just play with the words. Like so you have to kind of ask, well, what was someone else might believe? Or so sometimes we have to remove ourselves from it. And that's what the inner litigator does. She's kind of come here to argue the point and play with the words.
Okay, do you mind if I ask you to say that phrase again? What if I already have what I need to do what I'm meant to do? And it's funny listening to Jen talk there because
I'm here.
again, I like, it's like I'm constantly waiting for the A. Where's my report card? Who's going to tell me?
That I'm enough.
Goddamn education system.
That's why I want to change it. But I'm waiting for I'm waiting for something outside of me to give me permission or to I'm waiting for outside approval. So right now I need outside approval in order to what? To be of value?
You know what belief I have? I believe that it is completely egotistical for me to think that I know best to know that I'm enough.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like for me to actually claim I have all the knowledge I need. I am everything that I need to be. It feels so pedestally, so egotistical. So like, who the hell do I think I am to know that I am the best? Does that sound ridiculous?
Oh, it's awesome.
Laughing at
I
me.
want you to go argue with her. I want you to bring out your hotshot litigator and argue with her. Who do you think you are? Well, I actually know who you are. Still, look up there going.
I think this is my underlying core belief that I don't actually have permission to know for myself that I have enough knowledge or that I am smart enough or that I am all these great things, that it is egotistical to think that I get to be the measuring stick for myself. Like I am. It's my belief.
Yeah.
Like, who am I?
Who are you? So the litigator, well, who are you?
Judge, like I get to be all of it. Damned be you all. I am the best. Like it just feels so like.
I'm not saying that you're better than everyone else. So this is where we have to be careful. That's the egotistical comes, that if I think that I am great, that it's meaning that I'm better than somebody. I'm more special than someone else. And that's not what this is saying. This is owning just who you are. This is just owning your skill set. I don't think men have this problem. I don't know. I think we could go learn from them. Really, honestly, it's a beautiful point, is that I think we can go learn some things from them. It doesn't have to be arrogant and egotistical. So what would it look like instead to be, because that's what you're afraid of. I don't want to look arrogant and egotistical. Well, do you know of anyone who owns it and isn't arrogant and egotistical? Who are they? What do they look like? What do you think their belief would be? And that's why I'm married to Pat. I love it. So you get to argue that point now. So this is where you probably got to go argue with her, Jen, meaning like, it's pretty in there. You're like, well, no. You can't just tell me, because that's where I feel like you're going to go. Like, you can't just tell me that I own the measuring stick now, because I don't believe that I own the measuring stick. And this is where you bring out that part of you. And maybe you imagine that it's somebody who has a different, and go into this kind of argument. Imagine kind of like going into a discussion with this part of you. And it is that it doesn't mean you're more special than, it's just acknowledging your specialty or what your gifts are. You're more broad instead of a deep. That's okay.
Can I say something?
Yes. And then Melanie, Melanie has to go. I'm gonna get her
okay.
question. No.
Go ahead, Melanie.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
I just wanted to share something that I saw, of course, on Facebook today, but it's so valid in this moment. I sent it to my sister. I once read that we should say to our kids, "You must be so proud of yourself," instead of saying, "I am so proud of you," because they will grow up intrinsically motivated rather than motivated only to please others.
That's the second time that's come up this week. In conversation. That's super, super important.
Yeah.
Yes, super important. So you know where it come from.
Yeah, it came from Danielle's conversation earlier this week on hot.
Where was
or
it?
ask me anything, because Danielle is my daughter with the little one, and so they were playing a game, and she said that very thing. And I think of like that is such a beautiful way of putting that. Are you proud of yourself? Because so many people, well, we're here because that whole expectation of living up to someone else's expectations or not measuring up to your father or your mother's ideals of what you're going to do and see. So yeah, that whole piece of language on that one with being proud was just, for me, it was like a brilliant eye opener for sure. Because we watch movies and they say, "I just want to do my parent proud" or whatever. So yeah,
which is codependent.
Yes.
Confidence level.
What I was gonna
Yeah.
what I was gonna say with Jen is, Jen, I just always sort of thought I was average at my job and my skill set. I come to a job place that, I just thought I was just Joe average. And not that I think I'm better than that or less than that. I came to believe that my skill set was better than what I thought it was. Like in the way that was, and it does. And what I was going to say is it did feel very egotistical to actually speak about, I'm really good at my job. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. But it's also, I heard it from clients and from others, but I never thought of myself that way. And I never believed in myself at all for that. It was quite a few years ago that actually, I mean, I have the business part of the business part, me, let the singers sing and the dancers dance, I say. It's not my hat to wear, but the actual skill set of what I can do and what I do is definitely, but yeah, I know what it feels like to have that ego. And it feels sometimes when I do it, in the beginning, it did feel that way, but it wasn't until I actually, the key was believing that, yes, that's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
In my job only.
And I think that's what the Shonda Rhimes book's talking about too, is just why do we have a problem with owning it? Why do we have a problem with acknowledging? Why is owning our skill set or owning our brilliance or owning our gifts or owning our value? Why is it I'm arguing with your ego here, Jen.
Oh, and she's got a rebuttal.
Why is it considered egotistical or arrogant to own my strengths?
Because what if I'm wrong? What if I'm not as good as I claim to be? Then I'm false, then I'm fickle, then I'm not real, then it's all a facade, and I'm claiming to be something that I'm actually not. This is the dialogue.
I love it. This is good. And Jen,
and there's also a belief that Jen's probably heard and we've all heard is nobody knows everything. So the things that I don't know are huge.
Right.
One of her beliefs.
Yeah.
This totally resonates for me when I think about being a nurse. And when I was a new grad, so I was a brand new grad, and even it took me like 10 years, and then actually leaving my job in transplant to go to work in labor and delivery to realize that, because in transplant, it's really icky. It's a really icky ward. It's very elitist. It's very toxic place. A lot of fear about not knowing things, not knowing enough, you're going to kill someone, blah, blah, blah. So your whole day is driven on fear. And then when I left that job, going to labor and delivery, I was older. The nurses knew where I came from, and I was treated very respectedly, even though I had no idea what I was doing, because it was a totally different field, completely different field. But like, it made me realize it took forever to get to that place, because some workplaces you can't admit that you don't know.
No.
Like that you just can't. So so going to a completely different ward, where for me it was actually way more stressful because there's way too much unpredictability. But it's a hard place to be in, where you're like, where it's like you're conflicted in being like, you're like wise and knowledgeable and owning that, and then the fear of like, okay, well, if you can't know everything, then am I missing out on the stuff I don't know? And then we're taught, I don't know if you guys were taught this, but we were taught that the minute you think you know everything, you're dangerous. That's literally what we were taught. Like, I've heard that, I can't even count on how many.
So there's almost like this thing, I'm measured based on what I don't know rather than what I do know. And I feel like that may be a little bit of a theme across the board here, which is like my in general here. So my value is attached to like what I do know. So if I don't know something, my value is attached to that. Do you know what I mean?
And then, yes, and then further to that, like as I'm talking about it, because you have this, like it's drilled into you that the minute you think you know everything, that's when you're dangerous, and that's when you actually don't know everything or don't know anything. It complete, and I didn't even think about this as myself in it at the time, but it completely cancels out inner knowing and intuition and gut feeling and gut instinct. Like there's none of that.
Right.
It's just like, okay, well now it's all about what the book tells you to do. If you don't know what the book tells you to do, then you're gonna kill someone. But like most of my nursing practice, yes, there's a bit of, for sure, like
knowledge
and education. There's a lot of gut instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, I feel like that's the mastery, but like it's such a scary place to be in when you feel like what Jen's saying, like the ego of like, who do I think I am? Like,
so these are the parts that we get to pull apart. You get to tease these apart and go, what's really true here and what's not true here. Right. And so this is the value of creating space in our, so I would invite you to work through that, Jen, because this is obviously coming up for you this is Jen S for you. That example, it was probably relevant for also what's going on for you in whatever way it's going on for you. So often we are given these kind of beautiful examples. So Jen, and you said, how do I know what I know? How do I know to a value? So again, this is the exact reason why we can't go jump to mastery here, is that you just got to, the next step is I choose to know. We got to build the belief, which means that we've got to build you to the point where you get it, which looks like, universe, this is what we're going to talk about next week too, but universe, please help me know for certain what my strengths are. And all of a sudden you're going to get people coming out of you going, oh, Jen, you know what? You're so amazing. And then your job is to take note of those. And yes, it's outside validation, but it's acknowledgement. It's sometimes we need to hear it from outside of us to go, oh, I never thought of that. So that exercise we did in one of our thrives about going outside and asking our friends for like, what are our strengths, is to help us see what we can't see for ourselves. And then we got to start to own that. And that's where we start. And then it's about building that belief. So arrogance is like, I'm just saying it because I'm just saying it. But the true believing of it is going, no, I know for certain, because here's how I know it for me. Here's the evidence I have for me. Right? And you begin to build on that instead of paying attention to all the ways that you think you're not, or you're waiting for everything outside of you to confirm otherwise. See how this works? So we are going to be talking about the becoming of this, the becoming the belief next week. Okay, but thank you for bringing that up. So you got some rock star inner litigator action to go. I like her. This is good. You got a feisty one over there. She's like, yeah, but. And so you just go own that. You be that's just ego, right? And that's just the part of you that's got super protective. So you're gonna maybe have to really, I don't know. I feel like it's like button it up and be ready for that part of you that's already.
Maybe I was meant to be a lawyer.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I love it. Okay, so the next piece here is what gets in the way of elevating your beliefs and moving towards them. Well, thank you, Jen, for that beautiful example. And we have all experienced that. Well, ego gets in the way, right? So we can know how we've talked about how we can deal with ego in Masterclass 2 and the triggers and stuff. And some of it also is unrealistic expectations, being impatient with the learning process, seeing mastery as a destination to get to rather than ongoing, ever evolving practice, or expecting perfection right away, or analysis paralysis. We kind of want to get the whole thing. Okay, here's this thing that I see. I got to demolish it all at once and I got to clear it. And then when the next trigger comes in, I'm not at mastery yet. So how do we overcome unrealistic expectations? Trade expectation for perspective. So see this practice as a tool to support you on your ongoing, I want you to highlight that, ongoing upward spiral through life. So we're all spiraling through life upwards, which is ascension. We're all it's this continual, beautiful, ongoing spiral. See your experiences as a reflection of where you're currently at on the spiral, rather than finite experiences rooted in reality and truth. Well, this is just the way things are, and I'm stuck here, and this is it. So instead of seeing whenever something comes in, it's like, oh, I'm just being invited to the next level on the spiral. You can't fall down the spiral, just FYI. So you'll never be at square one again. You have far too much wisdom and awareness and experience to ever be back at square one again. And remember, mastery happens on all levels. So I'm coming around here, I've mastered this level. Now we're on to the next level. So instead of seeing this like mastery as this final destination I have to get to, just can I master this level? So we're at this belief and I've got it. All right, cool. This like this ceiling I've hit. Now it's calling me to the next one. Right? It's to a new level of mastery. And just start and stop expecting to have it all figured out at once. Let your life keep showing you what's next. So instead of, okay, this is what we do. I have this problem and I have to fix it. And so what are all the beliefs? What's everything I have to do to make this go away? That's the kind of the energy we often bring into it. And I got to sit down and I got to hammer it out, whatever. Instead, we can go, we can bring in the belief. We can become an awareness, which is, okay, now show me. And just see that your life it's just bringing in. It just shows you the next thing. Go deal with that thing. And you'll deal with it. And then the next thing will come in. Go deal with that. Go deal with the next one. Right? And enjoy all of the moments in between that are lovely and joyful and amazing and are just the beauty of life. And every time something comes in that you can see is an opportunity for you, go look at it. And if you don't feel like it, you don't have to do it. I'm just saying. So just let your life show you what the next level is. And just be intentional about your awareness and your practice and enjoy the unfolding of the expansion. This is just ever unfolding, right? And the more we bring in that nice light energy, right, the much more enjoyable the actual process is. And it's okay to not get it right away. You might see something, God, there it is again. There it is again. And you're like, oh my God, I gotta get it. It's like, it's okay if you don't get it right away. There will always be plenty of opportunity to heal it and clear it. It will keep showing up for you if it matters. Okay, so if it matters, and so it's okay if it's not, you're not getting it right away. Stop beating yourself up. And here's the beautiful, I love this quote. I trust the order of things and that through my awareness, change will come at the perfect time in the perfect way. Ego has a note that I got to go change my belief. This will happen. This is the result, new outcome. Maybe. It could look like that order, or it could look a whole lot different. So try to let go of what you think it's supposed to look like, what you think it's supposed to, like how that problem is supposed to go away. And trying to get into, I trust the order of things. I trust that if I'm being hammered on all angles, it's like, okay, I just trust it. Let's go. You know what? There's these ones over here. I'm gonna maybe deal with this one right now. And then I can invite this one in, right? You're in charge here, right? And see if you can just allow it to unfold. Another thing you can do is when you find yourself in a negative thought spiral, or you find yourself spinning on something or getting into kind of like the rabbit hole, and you recognize it, and you also recognize your power to choose right then. So if you're spinning, I think Yelena, you brought this up in the call or in the Facebook group the other day. So up until now, and Lisa also said this too, up until now I have believed. So a great place is when I'm spinning on something and go, oh, wait, hold on a second. I get this. This is the old story. Okay. So up until now, I had believed this to be true. And now I choose insert new belief. So once you have the awareness, and then because you will, once you have your new belief, it doesn't automatically mean that you stop acting or behaving in the way in line with the old belief. That's okay. So when you catch yourself doing it, awareness, right? And the healing happens when you catch it quicker and quicker, right? Up until now, I believe this. Now I choose this, okay? And then we'll talk next week about what you do with that. Or you get into that negative thought spiral and you're going. Oh, cancel, erase, delete. That's one of the ones that Tracy uses. I love it. Cancel, erase, delete. Done. Like just, we're over here. I recognize it's not serving me. I recognize I don't choose this anymore. And then intentional, I choose, and then say it. The new belief. I am worthy no matter what. Or whatever your new belief is. Okay. So there will be some, especially right now, mastery is like you're going to catch yourself. You're going to go into the negative old patterns and thought spirals. Of course you are. The process of mastery, just that you catch it quicker and quicker, sooner and sooner, and then eventually it becomes your normal and your new way, right? So if you can be patient with that practice and be if we talk about how do we bring love into that experience, like it's compassionate, understanding, forgiveness, right? Okay, so your next practical application is Elevation 8, which is process only. This is when you talk things about, I'm going to change, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to adjust, alter, I'm working on, I'm dealing with, I'm starting to. So you're always in process, never experiencing the chosen outcome. Like I see this a lot when people are doing the work, or, you know, I'm going to say self-help junkies. They're always in process and they're always doing the work, but sometimes never experiencing the result. So this is where we want to add specificity and clarify the outcome. This is speak the end from the beginning. So this is about really clarifying what you're moving to and what you're wanting to create, or what you choose to create. So, you know, it looks like, you know, I'm going to change my life, or I'm going to do it differently, or I'm going to adjust my income, transform my relationship. It sounds really good. You know, or I'm in the process of, or I'm dealing with, or it's starting to make a difference. So we're still always in process mode. So the shift is to move into outcome fulfilled. So if you're going to change your life, well, in what way? How are you going to feel? What are you experiencing? What are you choosing to experience? If you're going to adjust your income, well, in what way? Up, down, how much? So it's really about adding specificity and clarity to the outcome you're moving towards. I remember with my reno, I kept saying, yeah, it started. I think I shared this with you guys. And then it just started, and then it didn't keep going. So I was like, oh, I got to clarify that I'm completing. We're in the process of completion. We hadn't completed yet, process of completion. And then it got stalled again. And then I was like, we are completed. Okay, so it's just, and then things started moving again. So just notice, where are you in process in your life where you're constantly just doing the thing, but not actually experiencing the outcome? So that's your practice. I got some examples on the page here. I choose to change my life. Could look like I choose to experience financial abundance. I choose to transform my relationship with my partner. Could be, I choose to have a loving and connected relationship with my partner. So again, we're talking about what we're moving towards, what we're creating. I'm in the process of getting healthy, super vague. You know, I am experiencing ease of movement in my body. I am energized throughout the day. I'm enjoying nourishing my body with food. Feel the difference between that? I'm doing the work. I'm healing my relationship with myself. Thank you. My relationship with my core self is strong and connected. Awesome. So that is your next practice. Pay attention to that next level and have some fun with your continued awareness, and hopefully, like, again, playing with the beliefs, shifting them, having fun shifting them, and being gentle and patient with the process. Okay. Any questions? You're all good. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. So lovely to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.